Call to order. I call this regular meeting to order at 6:32 p.m. Pledge of Allegiance led by Councilmember Chan.
Please rise, place your right hand over your heart, and recite the words of the pledge with me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Councilmember Harrington is not able to make it tonight. So clerk, roll call please.
Mayor Wu,
Here.
Vice Mayor Menchaca,
Here.
Councilmember Chan,
Here.
Councilmember Ding.
Yeah.
Closed section report. Our city attorney will now give the closed section report from the special meeting held earlier tonight.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor, council members. One item was being considered by the council, conference with labor negotiators with the organizations listed. On the agenda, direction was given to staff, but no reportable actions were taken.
Thank you. We will now have some announcements from our chief city clerk.
Tonight's meeting is live streamed on the city's online platforms. If you wish to address the city council during tonight's meeting, we request that you please complete a speaker's card and hand it to the clerk at this time. When speaking, please state your name for the record. If you wish to receive city council agendas, please sign up on the city's website.
Thank you. Approval of the agenda order. Are there any objections to the agenda order?
None for me.
Okay, I see none. So next item, please.
Presentations. For the full text of the proclamation, please visit the city's website. Parks Make Life Better Month. Community Services Director Perez and Public Works Director and City Engineer DeVink will make some opening remarks, after which Mayor Wu will make the presentation.
Whereas Park and Recreation promotes physical, emotional, and mental health and wellness through organized and self-directed fitness, play, and activities. And whereas Park and Recreation strengthen community identity by providing facilities and services that reflect and celebrate communities' characters, heritage, culture, history, and landscapes. And now, therefore, be it resolved, the San Gabriel City Council hereby proclaims July 2024 as Park Make Life Better Month, and in doing so, urge all citizens to use and enjoy its parks and recreation opportunities. May I invite Greg? Okay.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. My name is Greg DeVink, the Public Works Director. I expected Director Perez to be here with me, so I'm not quite as prepared. So Community Services does look after all the programming of parks, all the events, the classes, the swimming facilities. But I'll speak a bit more on the Public Works side of it, what I'm more familiar with. And I do want to completely agree, parks make life better. San Gabriel is a little bit park deficient for the size of our population, but the parks we have are very well cared for, very well used. I do want to kind of put a shout out to the staff I have for maintaining the parks, because it's a lot more than you actually think. The parks are constantly used. They're open to the public 365 days. They do tend to be the source of vandalism, and we have to deal with graffiti and clean up all the time. So you do have several employees within Public Works that are constantly keeping the parks nice and open and safe. And I do think we have wonderful programs. We do have good promotions for these parks. They're very popular, and I'd like to thank Council for their support of parks making life better. Maybe there's more to this.
What you said. Sorry, Council. Good evening, Council and Mayor. Sorry for being late. I'm finishing up emails for tomorrow night's event. So anyways, thank you for supporting our mission as you always do, and we look forward to you enjoying our summer programs and the public enjoying our summer programs and our parks. So thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Greg and Rebecca. So we have a proclamation. So our council, let's take a photo with you, with the presenting this.
Great,
Thank you. Well, thank you again. And next item, please.
LA County Assessor Presentation. Los Angeles County Assessor Jeff Prang will make the presentation.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Council. Thank you very much for the kind invitation to join you this evening. I know you're probably thinking, how do you add a little bit of life into your meeting? Who better than the county property tax assessor to liven things up? But I always like to begin my presentations with a little explanation of who I am and what my office does. But before that, I'd like to talk about what my office is not. I am not the tax collector. The guy who collects taxes has a very intuitive title. He's called the tax collector. She's called the tax collector. But all joking aside, just by way of background, the assessor is one of the 3 countywide elected officials. I'm the one that nobody knows. Everybody knows the other 2, the sheriff and the DA. But I do oversee the largest property assessment agency in the United States. We've got about 1,400 employees. We're responsible for determining the value of about 2.5 million real property parcels and business assessments annually. Together, these are valued at over $2 trillion. That's trillion with a T. And it generates about $24 billion in property taxes, which is allocated to cities, school districts, county government, and special districts. I do always like to emphasize that my office is not a revenue-generating department, although revenue is the byproduct of the work we do. Our focus is on fairness and accuracy. Revenue is the job of somebody else. Property taxes, based upon the values that are determined by my office, are about 22% of the county's general fund, and are the largest single source of discretionary funds available to the Board of Supervisors. I always like to emphasize that in a lot of ways my office is the most important local government agency, because no other government agency can do their job until I've done mine. If I don't do my job thoroughly and completely, then property taxes that should be going into public services are left on the table. The way the system works, in a nutshell, as you can see on the screen, when property changes hands, a deed is recorded with the registrar recorder, or when there's new construction, a city issues a permit. Those permits and deeds come to my office, and then we determine if that is reassessable, and we determine the value of that improvement. We then turn over all that data to another department most people have never heard of, called the auditor controller. They're actually the ones who tell you how much you owe. They assign the tax rates and the special assessments, and then they turn that data over to the treasurer tax collector, who sends out the bills and collects the payments. My primary job is the production of what we call the annual assessment roll, which is really just the inventory of all taxable property in the county. And it includes both real property, which is land and buildings, as well as business personal property, which includes furniture, equipment, machinery, although it also includes aircraft, both commercial and general aviation aircraft, mobile homes, boats, and for some odd reason, racehorses. The assessment roll obviously serves a couple of critical functions. It's the basis of the property tax system, although we find it's also an essential planning document for local government as they are putting their budgets together in anticipation of property tax revenues, and it serves as an important economic indicator about the health of the local real estate market. Some noteworthy statistics regarding the city of San Gabriel and the annual assessment roll for 2023. We actually just closed the 2024 assessment roll on on Sunday, so I don't have current numbers for about another month or so. But I can tell you that in San Gabriel, there's about 7,600 single-family residences, 1,000 multifamily residences, and 1,100 commercial industrial properties. The aggregate assessment of those properties was approximately $6.8 billion. This represented a 4.9% increase, or about $318 million increase over the 2022 roll value, which contribute to the increases in property taxes. Just to give you an idea what's happened in recent years, in 2020, assessments grew by 4.2%, 2021 by 3.2%, and 2022 by 6.1%. I don't know what the number will be for 2024, but I can tell you the county property value growth will be approximately 4.75%, and I suspect that San Gabriel will probably be right around that, if not a little bit more. As I indicated earlier, we're estimating that the roll value will increase to over $2 trillion. There's a couple of the two primary things that contributed to this growth in property values countywide was the reassessment of the transfer of property, the buying and selling of property, as well as the Prop 13 cost of living adjustment, which reached the full 2% increase this year. The next chart on your screen displays some other local statistics. This is the median sales price in San Gabriel. This is only for single-family homes, not including condominiums. The median sales price for a single-family home in the area lies between $900,000 and $1.5 million, with a few exceptions. Median sales price as of May of 2024 in San Gabriel was $1.2 million, or an 18.2% increase over last year. Nearby communities of Monterey Park and Temple City also saw 10% plus increases in their median sales price as well. This median sales price is important for another topic I want to talk about next, which is Proposition 19. Proposition 19 was a constitutional amendment adopted by the voters in 2020. It amended Prop 13, and it does two primary things. The first thing it does is allows anybody who is 55 or older, the victim of a natural disaster such as flood, fire, or earthquake, or somebody who is severely disabled, allows them to transfer their tax base to a new home when they sell their old one and buy a new one. It allows you to transfer your tax base up to 3 times. You can move it anywhere in the state, and you can transfer it to a home of any value. That's a great expansion over the benefits that existed previous to Prop 19. Although I will say if you transfer your current base year value to a more expensive home, there will be an adjustment to your tax base. It won't be a full market rate, but there will be a formula that will apply. You'll have a partial carryover from the home that you're selling combined with a market rate for that value over the home that you're selling. Prop 19 was going to be, could have been very impactful to local government because it was going to stabilize revenues, which would have had an impact on your revenue. So the way the authors compromised on that was probably not a very popular component these days, but they basically slashed and burned family inheritance benefits. So under the previous law, you could inherit your parents' home and you would not be reassessed. And if your parents owned additional property, such as a rental, you could inherit up to $1 million in value without being reassessed. Prop 19 changed all that. So now the only property that you can inherit and your parents' tax base from is the home that your parents live in. And in order for you to qualify, you must move into that home within 12 months and file the homeowner's exemption. If you don't file the homeowner's exemption, you can't qualify, which is why I referenced that earlier. It also puts a cap on how much value you can inherit from your parents. So the rule of thumb is if the home is worth $1 million or less, you can inherit that home and the tax base, and you'll pay the same taxes as your parents. If it's over $1 million, and as we know now in San Gabriel, the median sales price is over $1 million, you're now going to get a tax increase. Your children will get a tax increase. And so the first $1 million will be the inherited portion from your parents. Any value over $1 million will be assessed at market value. In order to maintain that tax benefit, the children have to live there in perpetuity. They can move out, but then we'll reassess that property at market value. That part was not is not the most popular part of Prop 19, I am learning. So one of the other things my office does, we manage a number of programs that are designed to help people save money on their property taxes. There's programs for seniors, veterans, the disabled, nonprofits, religious institutions, and last year we helped them save about $750 million in taxes. But the most important one I wanted to mention tonight is the homeowners exemption. This is a tax savings program that's available to anybody who owns their home and lives in it as of January 1st. It's not a huge savings. It's a $7,000 reduction in your assessed value, which will save you about $70 annually in your property taxes. The legislature has not raised that level since the early 70s. But it remains that about, in San Gabriel, in San Gabriel, we've received about 4,300 exemption claims, but that in the city. But as I mentioned earlier, there's several thousand more single-family homes in the city who don't apply. And the reason they don't apply for the homeowners exemption is because they don't know about it. It's a bit of a secret, and I have a hard time getting the word out to everybody. It's one of those programs that I hope that we could partner with the city and ensure that everybody who is entitled to that savings gets it. It's particularly important for anybody on a fixed income or for seniors. And finally, just a couple new services I wanted to emphasize that I think will be important for your constituents. The program is something we call the Assessor's e-Service Account. So anybody who owns property can now go on our website and register a profile associated with that property. And over the next several years, we're going to be releasing a lot of online services that up to now required you to come to our office or do things with pieces of paper. One of the things you can do now online is update your mailing address, which is incredibly important because that's where we send your tax bill. And if we don't have a current mailing address and you don't get your tax bill and you fail to pay on time, you'll get a big whopping 10% penalty. And not receiving your bill is not a legal excuse for avoiding the penalty. But the most important part of this program that we've released now is something we call the Homeowner Alert. You're probably all familiar with the fact that there's been an increase in title and deed fraud. One of the challenges we have in the county is that if somebody's attempting to record something against your property, you'll get a letter in the mail from the registrar, usually 30 to 45 days after that's occurred. And if somebody's attempting to commit fraud, that may be too late. But now anybody who owns property can register their email address on our website. You can sign up. It's super easy. And if something's recorded against your property, such as a lien, a grant deed, a deed of trust, you'll get an email notification within 48 hours. And that way, if it is fraud, you'll be able to respond quickly. This is a program that's jointly run by my office, the Registrar Recorder, and the Department of Business and Consumer Affairs. So, Mr. Mayor, Council, that concludes my presentation. I invite everybody to visit our website, subscribe to our newsletter, sign up for the Homeowners Alert, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you very much, Assessor Prang. So any question, any comments from my colleagues? Vice Mayor?
Thank you.
I was going to say, very thorough, and
Very
I
nice
did
one.
appreciate the comparisons between the cities with the medium sales price, and I'm still shocked every time I see the numbers for San Gabriel that we've gone up 18.2%. That's shocking.
There's still, even with the high interest rates, there's still a real lack of inventory, so the market is very competitive.
We're actually the highest
I would
in that cohort that you.
I would suspect that because the city of San Gabriel has incredibly enlightened leadership and provides a high level of services
Yeah,
to
that
the
must be
people who
it,
live here.
sure.
We'll take that. And then San Marino really had a big drop, but that's another reason.
So in San Marino, there's not as many, there's very, very few transactions. So one bad transaction could skew the entire results.
Well, thank you for that explanation.
So, Councilmember Chen?
Oh, thank you, Mr. Assessor. Great job.
Thank you.
Good information. Thanks.
Councilmember Dean?
Yeah, thanks, Jeffrey, to come in our city. Yeah, we are welcome, everyone,
You all make me feel
including
welcome.
your assessor too.
I appreciate that. I
Yeah.
always feel welcome when I come.
Yeah, and the question is, it's this San Gabriel, it's the city of San Gabriel or North San Gabriel or South San Gabriel belong to the county area?
No,
That's
this is,
my question.
the numbers I gave you are for for the city.
City,
Yes.
city-owned property.
Yes.
Wow, okay. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, especially for the conclusion about the, this is an indicator that's showing the city of St. Gabriel is such a well-managed city. That's been, I think that the people love the city, and this is the reason people want to buy. But I do have questions, and especially for Proposition 19. I understand that seniors, you typically sell their original home or primary residence and buy a smaller or less expensive property. They are able to transfer their original tax base to a new home. So now there is a new Proposition 19. So can I say if they sell their old house for like an average price, but they have to buy a more expensive because the housing market is kind of hot. So they can just pay the difference in tax on the portion from the old house to the new price.
That's correct. There'll be an increase in taxes. It will not be a full market rate. It'll be a blended rate. Part of the transfer from the old home and the value that exceeds the old home property for the new home will be a market rate tax base. So it'll be an increase, but it won't be as big of an increase as if you were without the benefit.
So it doesn't have to be like a 1031 exchange that they have to change from single house to a single family resident to another single family resident. They can from single family resident to an apartment, but a high-rise apartment or a luxury apartment.
It has to be an individual dwelling unit to individual dwelling unit. So if you were to buy an apartment building only, or a condo building or whatever, only the unit you live in would qualify, not the entire building.
I see. Thank you so much. And for the ADU, we call it accessory dwelling units, or those remodel units that was additional square footage. So the new tax will be applied to the newly built area only. Is that correct?
That's correct. We will, whenever there's new construction, your property will be reassessed. We do not reassess the entire property, just the addition that's been added. And we use a cost methodology to determine that value. So if you had $1 million house and you build a $250,000 ADU, your new assessed value for the combined property will be $1,250,000.
Now I understand why the assessor office needs 1,400 employees. That's a lot of work. And how will the new broker commission practices impact the home buyers and the sellers in LA County? I mean, for example, the property assessed values are based on the transaction amount. Is that correct?
No, that's not correct. That is the assumption. Under the Revenue and Taxation Code, there is what is called a rebuttable assumption that the sales price is equivalent to market value. My duty is to assess property at market value, which is usually what people pay for it. But we will always do an appraisal to determine that that is a market value. So if you buy $1 million house for $800,000, your taxes are still going to be on $1 million. You get the break on the purchase price, but not on the assessed value.
So purchase price will be a part of one of the factor.
We will look at the purchase price. We'll do a market comparison to see if that purchase price represents the market value.
So for example, if that we said this is a $1 million property that's been sold. So that means seller will be paying a portion of their commission, but that will be showing to you it's a $1 million property.
Yeah, we're going to look at the market value. These sub-transactions and the compensation will not be part of our consideration.
They'll be not a part of it. So you would deduct those part of the amount from the.
We wouldn't not even consider those commissions. That would not be part of our evaluation.
Okay, got it. Well, thank you very much. And what is the percentage this is 1% of the assessed value for property tax. So each city, they may have a different property tax revenue from the assessor's office.
Cities, so the statewide mandated of Prop 13 is 1% is property taxes. LA County, it adds additional 0.25% on top of that. Some cities may elect to have an additional amount. The one that comes to mind is the city of Bell.
Like a measurement, right?
I'm sorry?
A measurement, like.
Yes, they have
amounts of
their
measurement.
additional increment that they added in.
I see. Well, thank you very much. That's all my question. But I really appreciate your time, and we really love to see that our assessors can come to our city and share those valuable information. And this is a city that people really love to invest and buy and enjoy. And we look forward for further cooperation with our LA County Assessor's Office.
Well, it is a pleasure to also be a representative of this city, and I appreciate the opportunity to come and share some of this information about our office and look forward to continuing our work together in the weeks and years ahead. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next item, please.
Public comment. This is the time set aside for members of the public to address the city council on items of interest that are not on the agenda but are within the subject matter jurisdiction of the San Gabriel City Council. If you wish to address the council, please fill out a speaker's card and hand it to the clerk. And Mr. Mayor, I have no speaker cards.
No speaker card. Any online comments? No? Okay. No, so when it... Okay, next item, please.
Consent calendar. All items listed under the consent calendar are considered routine, and recommendations will be approved in one motion unless a member of the city council or public requests separate discussion. We have not received a request from the public to pull an item, but I do have a speaker card for item 4H.
Okay, so maybe let's have the public comments.
Okay, our speaker is Doug Richter.
Okay, name's Doug Richter, live at Montecito Drive, 600 block. Okay, like I said, the main reason I'm up here is for the Fiesta, Lantern Fiesta, that's coming up next year. This last year, we had a problem on our street, as I mentioned in one of the comments I wrote back. Most of you know, I hope, Montecito Drive runs parallel to Ramona. It starts there at Main Street, which is just right at the trench, railroad trench, and it goes all the way down to Chestnut, which is just a block above the park down there. The problem is, in my section where I live, between Grand and Main Street, the street is only 30 feet wide, which is non-standard for a city street. The problem is, with parking on both sides, you end up taking away 15 feet. Now you're left with a 15-foot lane. You cannot get two cars along beside each other, one going north, one going south, in only a 15-foot area. Unless you're in a Volkswagen or a sports car. So well, I read the staff report on the coming up in February next year for the Fiesta Festival, and they mention a lot where the parking lots you can be, where you can park, yet there was nothing in there about restricting parking on certain city streets. And what I would like to have done is something mentioned in there that you can park only on one side of the street. In other words, put no parking signs up on either the east or the west side of the street between Main Street and Grand, which is the narrow part of the street. And that way you could still get, even with 8-foot parking, you still have 20 feet to get by, so you could get a two cars passing each other. And let's see, I think that covers everything. I just want to check my cheat sheets here. Yeah, the parking restriction would only be on Saturday and Sunday between noon and 8 p.m. when the festival's going. And I was talking to Steve Wallace back here, fire chief. He would prefer nice. Well, he says it only needs about 9 to 10 feet to get through, but with 15 feet, it would be a lot easier. Plus, he'd be able to pull over cars and get by if he has to run down the street or something. So anyway, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, would any council member like to pull any items for separate discussion? I see now.
Okay, no, just follow it's 4H.
Right, yes.
Yeah.
It's a lunar festival.
No, Latin Festival. It's So we, looks like we back to like 2 years ago. It's closing, it's auto vendor on the street, right? It's a parking lot, it's for the attended parking. That's a little bit difference. From my understanding, based on the current plan, yeah.
Correct, Councilmember Ding. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. We are still working on the layout, but yes, the tentative layout for this coming year would be vendors back on the street and parking in Mission Playhouse parking lot for now. That could change as we get closer, but that's the tentative layout.
Okay. Hopefully can, this year, next year can solve the public concern, you know.
Mayor?
I just wanted to add on to that. I think just in general, the festivals, because it's 2 days, I think there was so much, I mean, it was great. We had a great turnout. But I know Montecito, that particular area, was limited because we just had so many people. So maybe going forward, whoever is doing the parking, whether it's Public Works or Community Services, take that street into consideration because it is very narrow and it could be very dangerous. I know there was a tree that fell that, I don't know if it was during the festival, but there was a tree that fell that blocked everybody. So anyway, I just would like staff to just keep that in consideration. That's all I was going to say.
Yeah, maybe do some traffic control, and I don't know, maybe use the one-way or sign, something like that for the future, you know?
I think that was the recommendation from the residents, maybe put in a sign there that says no parking
Yeah.
on one side.
Good.
Okay.
Yeah, so if there's no other comments, I just wanted to move to approve the consent agenda, but in abundance of caution, I just want the record to show that I'm going to recuse myself from consent agenda D, which is the acceptance of the grant from Assemblymember Mike Fong's agreement with La Casa, the San Gabriel Community Center, to include approval of improvement project and acceptance of notice of exemptions. I'm not sure if the city attorney wanted to add anything, because I don't need to, because there's no financial interest, but again, an abundance of caution, I'm going to recuse myself from just that,
Because you're on the board.
because I'm president of the board, yes.
So what would be the correct thing? Make a motion for everything except for D?
A motion has been made, we just need a second, and the clerk will reflect the recusal if the vote comes in.
Okay, so it can still be one vote, even with her recusal.
So now we
Okay.
have a motion made by Vice Mayor Menchaca,
I'll second.
second by Councilmember Chen, and please vote.
Motion passes by a vote of 4-0, with the exception of item D, where Vice Mayor Menchaca has recused himself from the vote.
Okay, thank you. Next item, please.
Public hearing. Ordinance number 709, amending Chapter 153 of the San Gabriel Municipal Code relating to emergency shelters, group homes, lower barrier navigation center, supportive and transitional housing. Introduction and first reading. If you wish to comment on this item, please turn in your speaker card to the clerk now.
I now open the public hearing. Planning Manager Tewan Sart will make the staff presentation.
Yes, thank you, Mayor and members of the City Council. As mentioned, the item before you is Zone Text Amendment 24-003, and this is in relation to housing-related items, special use. The next few slides the City Council has seen before, so staff will be going through those relatively quickly. They will provide a quick timeline, outline a few housing policies and programs, and then a summary of the proposed zone text amendment. And often with multi-year projects, it's beneficial to see the steps and the items that have already come before the City Council. And so as mentioned, January of 2021, this is when the city initiated the process to update the city's housing element per state housing law. A year later, the City Council adopted the current 2021 to 2029 housing element, which received certification from the state in February of 2022. Concurrently, in January of 2022, the City Council adopted Ordinance number 683, responding to Senate Bill 9 and adopting regulations for urban dwelling units and urban lot splits. The city's housing element is comprised of 5 primary goals. Many of the goals and housing programs identified in the housing element are continued from the previous 5th housing cycle. They include Goal A, which is to facilitate for the development of housing and to provide for a range of housing types. Goal B is to promote and to encourage affordable housing opportunities. Goal C is to remove government constraints. D is to maintain the existing affordable housing stock. And E is to promote fair housing. So with Goal A, to facilitate the development of housing and to provide for a range of housing types, the past year and a half was spent evaluating densities for mixed-use projects, updating the accessory dwelling unit regulations, and creating objective design standards in response to Senate Bill 6 and Assembly Bill 2011. And this resulted in the adoption of Ordinance 695, 706, and 693. Program 12 will be discussed as part of item 7C under new business this evening. Goal B is evaluating the affordable housing opportunities. And time was also spent between 2022 and 2023 evaluating regulations to provide for affordable housing opportunities. Some of those programs were administrative and were completed relatively quicker, such as developing informational flyers to connect the community to available resources and agencies that administer housing assistance programs, such as the Los Angeles County Development Authority, LACTA, and also including information that provides information on rental assistance, as well as renters' rights and first-time home buyers. And as presented by the Assessor's Office this evening, staff will be happy to also add those links to share the information with the community. Other programs were regulatory programs that required code amendments, and those include density bonus and inclusionary housing. So Goal C is to remove government constraints to maintain, improve, and to develop housing. Programs 22 and 23, again, were evaluated last year and resulted in the adoption of Ordinance 695. And Program 21, which is zoning for emergency shelters, transitional and supportive housing, low barrier navigation centers, that will be discussed in the following slides. So to start emergency shelters, there are currently existing regulations in the zoning codes for this use. The existing code was approved in 2011 as part of the 5th housing cycle. And the objective of this proposed code amendment is to remove any remnant subjective requirements to comply with state housing laws. Those requirements include items such as parking and lighting. Again, the strike-through represents proposed deletions, and the underline represents proposed text. And it is to remove the subjective language such as the requirement based on demonstrated needs, and also anything that is subject to the review and approval of a staff member, as opposed to defining objective development standards for an applicant to provide as part of their project. Then going to group homes for 6 or fewer individuals, state law prohibits the requirement for a conditional use permit. And as part of the proposed zone text amendment, that is to delete the existing regulation in the city's code. Next is low barrier navigation centers. This will be new to the city's code, but it is something that is already provided in state law. This proposed amendment will it will be to incorporate what is already written in state law into the local zoning ordinance. And this is a use that will be allowed by right in areas zoned for mixed use, as well as non-residential zones that permit multifamily uses. And navigation centers, as defined by the state code, provides for temporary living facilities, while case managers connect individuals experiencing homelessness to income, public benefits, health services, and housing. And these are all regulated by state and federal regulations. Then supportive and transitional housing. This is also something that is existing in the city's zoning codes, but it provides further regulations, again, to define by right in zones where multifamily and mixed uses are allowed, including non-residential zones allowing for multifamily uses. And the added text provides these requirements. These are all defined in state law. It provides additional definitions, development standards, the way to long-term managements of supported housing. And also as well for transitional housing, it provides the definitions, the way they are to operate and be managed, mainly being regulated by the state. This zone text amendment was reviewed by the Planning Commission at their June 10th meeting, and the commission did recommend approval to the City Council with a 5-0 vote. So the recommendation before the City Council this evening is to conduct the public hearing and to discuss the proposed ordinance 709, waive full reading and introduce the ordinance by title only. And that's an ordinance of the City Council of the City of San Gabriel, California, amending Chapter 153, the zoning code of the San Gabriel Municipal Code, relating to emergency shelters, group home, lower barrier navigation centers, supportive and transitional housing, and to waive the future reading of the ordinance and schedule the second reading and adoption of the ordinance to the next regular City Council meeting. The ordinance would then be effective 30 days after adoption. And this concludes staff's presentation.
Thank you, Samantha. Does any council member has questions to staff to clarify the report?
I just have a quick one, Mayor.
Please.
So Samantha, all these amendments that we're doing for the ordinance, these are all dictated by the state. So it's mandatory. I'm not sure what the deadline is, but.
That is correct. So this is already in state law. What this does, it just continues the language onto the local, onto the city's local code. As far as development standards, that is all to comply with the existing development standards for the zones. And as far as how the uses are to be managed and monitored, that would be by the state and the federal government.
So it's both federal and state?
Yes, depending on, I mean, there are certain provisions, health and safety codes, public resources codes, so it's a mixture of multiple agencies when it comes to housing services.
Okay, thank you for that clarification.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Okay. I have one question, Samantha. So I just want to clarify that since we are amending the municipal codes and zone tax as required by the housing elements and the state of, in other words, since we have already adopted the housing element and it's been approved by the state. So this implementation is simply an action to fulfill the housing element requirements. Is that correct?
That's correct.
I see. Okay. So what are the special zoning change that have been implemented to meet this housing element requirements?
So this falls under the housing program of removing any governmental constraints. It makes clear the areas where the uses are allowed. It updates any zoning codes that may be subjective to make regulations more objective for an application to follow a proposed use. And although a couple of these uses will be by right, it is to make clear what the definitions are, what the uses are, and how they're supposed to be managed if approved. And essentially, that's what the amendment is. And again, it's carried over from state law. It's not any language that staff has crafted or that deviates from the state law. And so with that, it's to comply with the housing program.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Samantha. And Chief City Clerk, do we have any public comment?
I have no speaker cards.
No speaker cards. So I now close the public hearing. So it's time for council for discussion. Who would like to go first? Councilmember Chen.
Mr. Mayor, thank you. This kind of item seems similar to ones we've had in the past couple of meetings where, again, these rules are made by the feds and the state, and so we are required to comply, so
Okay.
I guess there's not much for me to discuss, so.
Thank you.
I'm ready to approve it.
So I need a motion.
Yeah, well, I'll make a formal motion, but I think Councilmember Ding, did you want to say something?
Yeah.
Councilmember Ding.
I saw the staff recommendation, it's ordinary, for the, like, our emergency shelter, group of home, lower barrier navigation center, and supportive and transition housing. Just like our housing element, doesn't mean our city will be do that, right? So just in case some developer coming in, so they can follow this new, the state required element to follow up. So for us, no choice, right? Okay, thank you.
Now I'll make my motion. I move to approve the recommendation provided. Should I read it all? Oh, no, okay. Just, yeah. Move staff recommendation.
Thank you. So a motion has been made by Vice Mayor Menchaca
I second.
and second by Councilmember Ding. Please vote.
Motion passes by a vote of 4-0.
Thank you. Next item, please.
We have no continued business. The next item is new business item A, purchase of automated license plate reader system and ballistic helmets from Flock Safety and Proforce Law Enforcement under 2021 State Homeland Security Grant Program in the amount of $61,500 and $57,920.79 respectively. If you wish to comment on this item, please turn in your speaker card to the clerk now. Management Assistant Brian Wu will make the presentation.
Good evening. Mayor, Vice Mayor, council members, city manager, city attorney, guests, and colleagues. My name is Brian Wu, and I am with the San Gabriel Police Department. And tonight, I do have the privilege to present to you the purchase of our ALPRs and ballistic helmets from Flock Safety and Proforce Law Enforcement under the 2021 State Homeland Security Grant Program. And as someone who is in the law enforcement field, we tend not to go in by ourselves in a red hot zone. And tonight, this is my red hot zone. So I do have some backup here. We have Chief Elizalde, Captain Nakamura, Jake Sherman, who is the territory sales manager with Flock Safety. And think back to a few years ago, when there was a talk show, or game show called Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? Which was hosted by the late Regis Philbin. There was one thing we can always count on, right? Was a lifeline to phone a friend. Tonight, we have a phone a friend by the name of Kristen McLeod, who is the Community Engagement Manager with Flock Safety, in case we need a lifeline, all right? So let's jump into it. What is Flock technology? Flock Safety provides our police department with indiscriminate evidence from fixed locations. Flock provides all maintenance aspects so that our agency and city staff can focus on keeping our city safe and prosperous. Some of the benefits and features do include infrastructure-free, 24/7 coverage, real live alerts, and they are ethically made. Let's talk a little bit about what Flock is and what Flock is not. Flock is an automated license plate or recognition tool. It gathers objective evidence and facts about vehicles, not people. Alerts the police of wanted vehicles, used to solve crimes, and it adheres to all state laws. What Flock is not, it is not a facial recognition system. It does not collect biometrics or sensitive information. It is not used for tracking speed or parking violations, and the data is deleted every 30 days. What about privacy? Great thing you ask. The footage is owned by the agency as well as the city, and it is never sold to private third parties by Flock. There is a 30-day data retention, and then it is automatically hard deleted. It takes the human bias out of crime solving by detecting only objective data. All data is stored securely with end-to-end encryption, which all of us loves, especially our city attorney as well as our IT team. Accountability mechanisms. Search reason, user numbers are saved in an indefinitely available audit trail. Joe Smith cannot just walk in, type in his name, and find what he needs. Only the personnel who has access with a certain security level will be able to access this type of information. Once again, not a facial recognition software, not collecting biometric information, not used for parking enforcement or tolls, not connected to any registration data or third-party databases such as the DMV or Carfax. The current presence of Flock as well as all ALPRs. In LA County, we have about 70+ agencies who are currently using this technology. Let's go a little further up. The state of California, 300+ law enforcement agencies. Nationwide, we're talking thousands, if not in the tens of thousands. For our city, we will be starting off with 20 ALPRs that will be strategically placed in locations that would best suit the city as well as the police department. Let's take a quick look at a case study with our neighbors we don't like to talk about too much up north. But a one-year study, they showed a 70% decrease in residential burglaries, a 19% decrease in Part 1 crimes, which include criminal homicide, burglary, and robbery, to name a few, and a 36% requested increase in the number of cameras. In layman's terms, think about them having 100 cameras during phase 1 or year 1 of service. They love the service so much. Year 2, they ask for 36% more, which would then equate to 36 cameras. Here on this list, we show a few prevalent cases that Flock ALPRs help solve. If we were to put everything on slides, I'm pretty positive this presentation would be miles and miles long. But for tonight's purposes, let's look at the first one, the Monterey Park mass shooting, which hits closely to home for all of us. Think about it. January 21st, 2023, at approximately 10:22 p.m., Star Ballroom. A gunman walks in and starts his havoc. 17 minutes later, Lili Ballroom in Alhambra, California. He tries to do the same thing, but thanks to a Good Samaritan, that was stopped. He flees, white cargo van. Floods of information start pouring in. Law enforcement agencies all around the county and state, you start to plug it into certain systems. 12 hours later, 22 miles south, Torrance, California, this horrific ordeal finally ends at 10:20 a.m. on January 22nd. Why do I bring this scenario up? It's because Flock ALPRs had a huge part in this, in tracking down this vehicle. This was my last slide, for all of the ALPRs. But let's end it on a positive note. With this 2021 State Homeland Security Grant, not only were we able to secure 20 ALPRs, let's talk about a term which some of us have heard years ago, maybe on a commercial from our friends 30 miles south in Anaheim, California, where their mascot is a mouse. They coined the term twofer, right? This is our twofer for tonight. We will also be able to purchase 65 Bush AMP-1E ballistic helmets, which I found is very much needed since ours are currently 20+ years old here at the San Gabriel Police Department. And these are much needed for critical incidents, high priority calls. And the best part of it, $0 and cent to the general fund. And with that, I want to thank you for your time, and we will take any questions.
Thank you, Pren, for the presentation. Very nice voice. Very nice presentation.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, any question from my colleague? Yeah, Councilmember Chen.
So these flock cameras, that's what it looks like? That's the piece of equipment, the physical piece of equipment?
That is correct, sir. So the type of flock camera which we will be using are called the Falcons.
Okay. And so the contract is asking for 20 of these?
That is correct, sir. And they will be mounted on current city-owned traffic poles or the electrical poles.
Okay, and then PD will decide what are the most strategic places in the city to, usually probably high traffic or however you guys do that.
That is correct,
Okay.
sir.
Okay, oh, it looks good, and great presentation.
Thank you, sir.
I yield, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councilmember Chen. Anyone else?
I'm going to reserve my questions after public comment.
Okay. Councilmember Ding? Oh, no? Okay. So, Chief City Clerk, do we have any public comment?
I have no speaker cards.
Okay, so now it's time for us to discuss. Yes, who would like to start?
I'll start. Thank you, Brian, very well done. I just wanted to clarify, I think there's still a show that has a lifeline, a current show. Regis is old.
Regis is not with us.
Yeah, he's not with us either, but that's an old show. But there is a current one that I've seen. I'm not a big game show person, but there is a current one, just so you know. I guess I have several questions, so if you want your lifelines, they can start coming up. But one of the concerns, or not concerns, but what took so long? Because we're one of the last cities to adopt this. And so that's the first question, and I did have a conversation with the captain, kind of shared with us, but I think it's important for the public to know why we're one of the last cities to adopt a program like this. I think all the surrounding cities has flock. I don't think they have the other ones that were listed. So is that a question you can answer, or do you need a lifeline?
I don't need a lifeline.
Oh, great, okay.
So this project started 15 plus months ago with Resolution 2301. We got the approval to use grant funding towards this project. However, with grant funding, with this type of project, we needed what is called an EHP. The EHP was the holdup. So then I'm gonna blame it on the feds, okay? We had actually submitted that EHP many months
So
ago.
what is a DHP?
EHP?
EHP?
It's an environmental form. Since these are cellular cameras, which will be mounted, on poles, right? So, that was the main reason, why it took so long.
Okay, but all the other cities got the approval right away.
Yes, sir. Yes,
We
ma'am.
didn't. Okay, I was just trying to
Yep.
wonder why we didn't get it,
Sure. Yeah.
but you didn't answer that.
Oh,
And so how come the other cities where we get the environmental approval right away? I mean, are we unique in some way?
we are not. If those cities had purchased the flock cameras or any ALPRs with general funding, you would not have to go through that.
Oh, that's it. That's right. Okay, great. Thank you for clarifying that.
You're welcome.
That was the reason. And then, can you give a scenario of, I know the answer, but I want to make sure the public understands this, why this is so important for us to have. Right now, if there is an incident that takes place, let's say they start in Alhambra, and they go to Rosemead, or Monterey Park, Rosemead, and they come to us, what are the advantages of all these other cities that we don't have right now, but we can have? And if you can maybe just walk us through, because right now, since we don't have it, we can't be as, those mutual aid, we're so limited right now because we don't have this flock. We've been able to function without it, but can you kind of share a little bit how it puts us, we're not the team player, because we just don't have the feature yet.
So I think the positive point is, since our city is only 4 square miles, we do rely on the surrounding cities who currently do have flock cameras. So more than likely, they will be going northwest, southeast into one of those cities which has the technology, and that's how we would pick them up. However, once we put these 20 cameras into those 20 spots, we'll be in the game.
Yes.
So, right? So then with flock, we can tap into those surrounding cities who also have flock and to share as long as each city is willing to do so.
Okay.
That is how, all that's gonna come into play. real
Okay,
soon.
great. Yeah, that's great. And then, once we get, I'm assuming we're going to approve this, but once we get this equipment, who on our side is going to have access to it? Is it certain levels, captain, lieutenants, or how does that work? How do you decide who has access?
So then that's still gonna, be in the talks, but that's gonna fall on the chief of police, and then who he deems, should have access, to, the sensitive type of information.
'Cause I think that's always a concern.
Sure.
Is the privacy.
Sure.
And the access, and so, okay, well, great. Well, I guess you don't need a lifeline.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Brian. That was very well done, very thorough. And
Thank you
with
very
some
much.
humor, too.
Yeah, there you
I
go,
like that.
right?
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Will be the next. Councilmember Ding.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, thank you, the good presentation, so waiting so long for this high-tech technology. The technology background. So one more question. We are here about it. We also have a drone for the license so we still don't have it yet, right? Just only if this is fixed 20 camera, right?
That is correct, sir. So the drone program is something that is separate, which is gonna be a little bit down the road, but hopefully, sometime, in 2024, is when, we can start that project as well.
Okay. And I saw that you used some grant fund only for the first year, for this year, right? For the future year, we still use the general fund, $60,000, right?
That is correct, sir.
Okay.
So the funding is for year one, but then moving forward, for year two, it is gonna tap into the general funds, and then PD is going to have to a budget for that.
Okay. And I saw the first year it's really close to the next year. It's 61,000 something. Next year, we don't need a hardware, just the software, still 60,000.
That is correct, sir.
Okay.
Yes.
So that's meaning maybe equipment is not too expensive?
That is correct, sir.
Okay. So you think that the 20, the camera, it's enough for our current city?
Well, we believe, that, the 20 cameras is a good starting point, but of course, as the years move on, we'd also love to add.
Okay. So 20, if intersection, you put on a 4 direction or, so only 5 intersection we can use it, right?
Hypothetically speaking, yes, but that's not what we're looking at. But I will give you one example. So the corner of San Gabriel and Valley, that's probably gonna be pointing north, south, east, and west. But there's other intersections, which you might just focus on 2 parts. So that's how it's kind of spread out.
Okay. So you try to use the more efficiency, not in all the intersection we need 4, right? They have what's the angle? It's 180 degree or?
So it's generally gonna be about 2 to 3 lanes.
Okay.
Per direction. But think about the bordering cities, such as, let's use Valley and Walnut Grove, right? That's gonna be heading in to Rosemead. So
Okay.
that you don't have to hit every single major intersection, right? Just because those neighboring cities will have their flock cameras, which we can borrow as well.
Okay. Thank you. So average is the neighborhood city, how many they have?
It
Do you know?
depends.
Like
in
a
which
Temple
city.
City or Alhambra?
I can give you ballpark figures.
Okay.
Okay. So in Alhambra, ballpark figure, you're looking at about 40 to 50 current flocks. In the city of Temple City, you're looking in the range of about 8 to 12.
8 to 12 is enough for them?
That's not our city.
Okay.
It's what they can afford.
Okay, all right. So, yeah, but yeah, we will see I think we can testing
Sure.
couple years or 1 or 2 years if we need more. You know.
Absolutely, sir.
Yeah, okay. And also the 65, the ballistic, the helmet, it's for every officer.
Absolutely, sir.
Okay.
One for each person.
Okay. This also the one-time purchase.
It's a one-time purchase on the grant with no cost to years 2 and beyond.
Okay. But I still need to maintain too, or don't need to maintain this helmet?
And those sworn officers should be maintaining their
Self.
property.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay, that's self. Okay, great. It's a really happy to see our city have this kind of equipment, especially for the public safety. And another question. You say it's not the facial recognize, not just license plate read. How about I hear which one section? It's even like if they what kind of car or color car, if they don't have maybe some criminal, they don't have the license plate, they cover the license plate, you still can catch them too?
I believe Flock, would still be able to read the plates, and then it's based on what's actually in the systems, with that vehicle's type, of information.
Because they say they're not the face recognition, so I just want to see what kind of car they still have this kind of function, similar function, but not for the people, like you say, it's for
Correct.
the car, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Car only. Yeah.
Car only, okay.
Car only.
Yeah, that's I think public want to know the privacy too.
Sure.
Okay, all right, okay, thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Well, thank you, Councilmember Ding. Well, Brian, again, thank you so much for the great presentation. And also, I would like to give a big shout out to our Captain Nakamura. I think from last year that he already mentioned about trying to get a grant from Redondo Beach. That is that the law enforcement actually, they had the funds that is available for us to use. So I really appreciate that everyone, including, of course, the Captain Nakamura, that can just make this, that we are St. Gabriel, not the only missing puzzle in the whole flock cameras territory. Puzzle, where we're missing one. Yeah, we are the only one that is not covered. So that's, now we are, but we have 20. I hope we will have more. But my question would be, is the flock camera also, we are able to integrate it with Amber Alerts or anything like that?
That's a good question. Now I may need to use a
Can
lifeline.
we call out?
Jake, lifeline.
Yes. Well, thank you. I must ask some right questions so I can call out Christine. Thank you so much for that. I'm so glad that that is not only for solo function, that we are actually multi-functions that with the flock cameras. And also, where is the central headquarters for all the big data? Where the storage? Where is the information? I know that will be erased in 30 days. So, our police station has own big data facility, or actually that will be go to somewhere in the center?
Kristen, I may have to differ to you.
In North America? Somewhere.
Somewhere in North America.
Somewhere.
Don't
worry.
Double top secret.
Narrows it down.
Okay.
So that's mean include Canada or to North American, right?
That's okay. I just want to make sure that our facility in our PD, that we will need to escalate it because we are using the flock camera system. I think that's the reason I asked that question. But that's okay. I mean, we don't really need to specific location for that big data. And also, how about flock camera? Can we ask our developers, the private sector, if they have those flock camera in their property? That will be helpful because we have so many people got the window smashed. They got those kind of crime issue. So they would like to have a flock camera. Would that be feasible for private sector to own this and pay for the service?
Kristen,
Thank you very much, Christine. I think this is a great combination with your answer and also smile from from Brian.
well, I was going to try to answer it, but I think hers was way better than mine.
But thank you so much for that. I think that's pretty much I have. Any other council have question?
I motion approve this.
I'll second.
Oh, sorry.
But there's no public comments. So a motion has been made by Councilmember Ding and second by Vice Mayor Menchaca. So please vote.
Motion passes by a vote of 4-0.
Thank you very much, Brian.
Thank you, everyone.
Christine. Okay, so I would like to call for, thank you.
Thank you.
And I would like to call for a 15 minutes break, and that's resume the meeting at 8 p.m. Thank you. Okay. Thank you. Well, the meeting resumed at 7:59 PM. Next item, please.
New business item B, general plan update discussion. If you wish to comment on this item, please turn in your speaker card to the clerk now. Planning Manager Samantha Twassart will make the presentation.
Yes, good evening again, Mayor, members of the City Council. It is a pleasure to be able to provide this broad overview of what is a general plan in general, and then to have the discussion, and again, this is a discussion item. There are some recommendations that are before the City Council, but it is to provide comments, feedback, and direction to staff to come back to the City Council with more information. So a general plan, it is a document that is required by state law again, and it requires cities and counties to, cities and counties must adopt a general plan. It looks at the long-term growth of a city and decisions involving the future growth of a city, typically 15 to 20 years. A general plan is a policy document. We like to look at it as a master policy document that guides future development. It's a comprehensive document that is consistent across all elements, and the general plan consists of statements of development policies, includes diagrams, text, and these are items that are currently seen within the city's existing general plan. The last update was in 2004. So mandated elements from the state include land use, circulation, housing, conservation, open space, noise, safety, and a relatively newer one, environmental justice. And again, these are elements that the City Council may be familiar with. Optional items include historical, cultural elements, economic, water, and energy. San Gabriel's general plan includes a cultural element as well as an economic element. Again, as a policy document, it defines what types of development and where. Also, it is mindful of the protection of natural resources, as well as health and safety items, as well as mobility and transportation. Typically, when it comes to any general plan updates, it does take a good amount of time, and this is because it does take several years, and mainly due to extensive public outreach and participation. This is very important to a successful general plan, to receive feedback from the public, and as well as to work in tandem and in partnership with the Native American tribes, which is important to the city of San Gabriel, as well as other public agencies, utility companies, the schools, and community groups. And so a general plan update typically involves the assistance of the commissions within the city, as well as advisory committees. Ultimately, the Planning Commission will make a recommendation to the City Council following a number of community outreach meetings, as well as public meetings with the commissions, and if so decided by the City Council, activating a general plan advisory committee or an ad hoc committee of any form. So a comprehensive update typically is recommended for every 10 years, just to keep policies and programs current. A great example of that would be the housing element, which the state mandates to be updated every 8 years. But it is not a requirement, and having a general plan that does exceed that time period does not make the document inadequate. So as mentioned, the recommendation before the City Council this evening, again, staff provided a very broad overview of really the components of what's within the general plan, what's mandated by state law. However, really the importance of what's within a general plan is really all the comments and feedback provided by the community, again, as well as the commission going through all the public meetings to really define and to identify the goals and objectives and the programs to accomplish those goals. Ultimately, it may result in updating specific plans or zoning codes to be consistent with the policies of the general plan. And so the recommendation before the City Council this evening, again, is to provide that feedback on whether there is interest to either comprehensively updating the city's current general plan. Again, we are 20 years into the plan. Annual updates are provided to the City Council around the end of May every year so that the city can report up to the states all the goals and programs that have been accomplished, specifically related to housing, but as well as just to make sure that the programs are being implemented from the general plan. Or the City Council can decide to focus on one to a few of the elements, really depending on timing and costs, or three, to maintain the plans as is with in consideration that the programs and policies are still effective, and the city can continue with what's already in place. This concludes staff's presentation. Staff is available for questions.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Samantha. So does any council member have a question for staff to clarify the report? Yeah, Councilmember Chen.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just for clarification, just so I have it straight in my head, is this the same issue as a little while ago when Councilman Harrington and I were the subcommittee and we're in a meeting with you and Aldo and Mark? It's part of the same thing? It's basically the same issue?
It's a part of the same conversation.
Okay, great.
Typically, whenever a new council member or even the existing council to get an idea of the documents that the city, that staff implements. Staff does provide an introduction to that document. Councilmember Dane, that was one thing that we did. And then also with Vice Mayor Menchaca. When the council begins, it's just to provide that overview of the city's policy document and really what drives all the projects and the applications that come before the commission and the city council. So that conversation was really just, again, to provide that broad overview of what the general plan is and whether or not there is interest in working on any of the elements or the entire document altogether.
Great, thank you for your clarification. I yield.
Thank you, Councilmember Chen. Any other colleagues? I see none. In Chief City Clerk, do we have any public comment?
I have no speaker cards.
Okay, so now it's time for council discussion. Who would like to go first? Vice Mayor?
I'll start. Thank you. So let me make sure I have the timeline correct. So 1990, was that the first time we've done a general plan, or was that updating it also when we did in 1990?
Vice Mayor, I do not have the background prior to the 90s version,
Okay,
but
no,
the
that's fine.
current 2024 version is an update of that.
Yeah, so we had 1990 to 2004, so that was 14 years. And then 2004, if we adopt it tonight, or we adopt something tonight, that would be 20 years. So it's...
Yes, if the council provides that recommendation for staff to initiate some
Something.
form of update.
Yes, okay. So it's time to do something. It just the amount we're going to decide on. On the historical cultural element, you talked about optional elements. I thought we had already done that when we did our historical preservation commission. I know it's got multiple names, but the historical commission, that was when we updated our historical cultural element, or they've been working on updating it. Am I wrong?
The element itself is currently a part of the general plan, is identified as an optional element, not a mandated element that the state requires within a general plan. The ordinance that you are speaking of is the regulatory component that comes with the policies identified within the cultural element. So it starts with goals and objectives that the city wants to accomplish relative to preservation, and then it led to the historic preservation ordinance, which defines all the requirements for designation, and then what happens after designation. So that is more of the recent item that has come before the council.
So that has already been updated, I mean, relatively, maybe 4 or 5 years now.
The element itself is the same from 2004. The preservation ordinance is what has been updated. So from the 60s to 2017, and then currently we're working on another one related to the CLG application.
Okay. Wow, lot of layers there. If we would decide to do anything, whether it's the focus or a comprehensive, are there grant opportunities out there to, because it's going to be significant? I think the numbers were like $1 million to $1.5 million. Well, that's what the survey shows that, but are there any grant opportunities here to fund this? Because otherwise it would have to be all general fund.
That's correct. So currently, staff has not seen any grants that are available. It really takes monitoring what grants are out there. Typically, they're associated with very specific items. For example, when the city updated its housing element, that was funded by the LEAP grant, by the Sustainable Planning Grant. So it just depends on whatever the state and the government makes available.
So I was looking at like water element, energy element. I can
Right.
see like an environmental.
Correct.
So don't we have a grant, or we're going to have a grant writer or grant staff member of some sort?
We do, Vice Mayor Menchaca. We have a contract with California Consulting. It's worked out really well for us. We're going to bring an update sometime in the next couple months that has a list of all the grants we've applied for and the success we've had. But although we just started about 3 months ago, it's working out really well. So we'll use that firm to help identify any grants that could be used for either some of the elements or the whole plan.
Okay, yeah, that would be helpful, because, again, it's substantial, but for me, I think it's a priority. We're already 20 years, it's been 20 years now. So what I would like to see is kind of a little blend of both. So go out and find out what it would really cost to do a comprehensive update, because we've done some updates. So, the numbers could be different, but also, do a focus update. What would it cost to do a focus update? So 2 different costs. That's what I would like to see us move forward with. But I'll yield to my colleagues and see what their thoughts are. But I just don't want to wait another 20 years or 5 years for that matter.
Right, to provide some point of reference, Vice Mayor, for example, the city's housing element, that was a combination of 2 grants totaling $300,000 for a singular element itself, but typically the other portion of the cost goes to the environmental analysis that goes along with the policies, in particular when it comes to development, increasing development, any potential traffic or noise impacts. That is what typically eats up a big portion of the cost. So first there is the work in the element itself, followed by the environmental component, and then also the third large component would be all the public outreach. Again, that goes into a document like this. So all the meetings, all the notifications, all the flyers, surveys, typically that's about a third of the cost.
But this is over a 3-year period. I understand it's not going to be done in 6 months, over a 3-year period. So what we're deciding tonight possibly could be over 3 years. Even the focus update, I would assume at a minimum a year, even with the focus ones.
That is correct. So potentially it could be a cost that is distributed over several years. And then also staff did, it was not mentioned in the presentation, but staff did conduct a survey of surrounding properties, and comprehensive updates were averaging between $1 million to $1.5 million in total costs. And this included the environmental component. Now in thinking about staff's response, we did not follow up on, it's assumed that it includes that public outreach component.
I think I mentioned, it's $1 million to $1.5 million, but because we've done some updates already, that number hopefully will be a lot less. But I without going out to bid, we really don't know. So that's why I would like us to consider doing 2 of them, a comprehensive update plus the focus update. Just get the pricing, go out to bid, just so then we can decide, is this something we want to undertake, but with the understanding that it could be a 3-year process. So, okay. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. And any colleagues would like to ask any question? Councilmember Ding? Go ahead.
So, yeah, and I waiting that this long-term plan. It's a long time. It's back to the 2020 when we still in the pandemic. I think I remember we in the Mission Playhouse. We have spent like two days, right, to have some outside the consultant to education all the council member regarding that. So yeah, because this plan is back to the 1990, so we should be like do that like some like updated because we are also it's a population difference and it's a more multicultural and right now it's also have the housing element and even our community all the different kind of group they need the help too. So I really like see it's a whole like a comprehensive the plan to for the next 20 years because you see the way updated on the 2004 and right now it's 2024. So and let our resident have to see what's the future for our city. It's what's the corrected direction, you know. So yeah, but it looks like the cost money. I agree. The vice mayor, it's maybe do the survey, see the quote, see how much cost for the comprehensive or focus. But I prefer it's a comprehensive. So it's maybe a lot of things to change. You know, it's different. So we should be updated. Even like 30 years ago, we don't expecting our mixed use too, right? Right now we have a lot of like mixed use in our city. So it's just like an example. And public safety, we're just talking about it. Before we don't have camera, right now we have camera, right? So I prefer to do that, but also based on our budget, the study, see how much cost. It looks like comprehensive need like a 1 million, 3 years, 1 million to 1.5 million. But this is for the contract. It's all staff time. It's include staff time or just the contract out?
It will not include staff time.
Okay, not include just contract. Okay. So, but this budget we can separate to the each year, right? For the if maximum the 1.5 million.
Yes, so far from what staff is hearing, potentially next step would be to go out for a request for qualifications and proposals, defining what it is that the city council would like to see and to be brought back, to have the firms provide the costs, and then also to a breakdown of over a certain time period, and what would be included as part of the services and tasks.
Okay. So the market maybe for the future, for the budget, maybe you have to add on that too, right? So see we can affordable too. I hope we can affordable because even even we do it right now, still take 3 years. Then we take action, it's another 3 years, it's 23 years, maybe 24 years, we update the plan. So I feel it's really urgent to do that because it takes so long, yeah. So yeah, I like it that we got two proposal, it's with comprehensive and the focus, if we financial can affordable, it's a comprehensive is better. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Ding. So, Councilmember Chen, anything? No? Okay, well, thank you so much, Samantha. I have a couple of questions. In your report, it shows that the cost may be vary between 1 to 1.5 million. So you said overall the cost have increased. How we pay out of that money? Are we going to amortize in 20 years or we will pay at once?
No, it would be
One-time fee?
a one-time cost that is associated, again, with the project defined. And this cost would be spent depending on the task that is accomplished. Typically, the city would be invoiced, and then it would be paid from whatever account that's identified.
So there will be no mortgage things happen. We will be just paying one time out of our general funds.
It would be a defined value that is associated with the scope
Associated.
defined, yes.
I see. And I think Councilmember Ding just reminds me that I think we have the strategic planning. That is a meeting for every 5 years. So every 5 years we have that, and now we are planning to initiate a comprehensive update. So that means when I can see the result, I will be 70. That'll be great. If I can see my, in my 70s, that the city will be just developed as the way that we wish, that would be awesome. But for that, I mean, how frequent that we will get some update back from, those facilities? How frequent? They will be update us like annually or quarterly? I mean, for example, they are doing like some kind of study, but we would like to see the result, right?
If the question is relative to the scope of work that will
Scope of
be
work,
defined
right.
and the potential costs associated with it, the city would send out a request.
For proposal.
Yes, and define typically the response period would range from 1 month, month and a half, 2 months, and this would be to provide any firms the time so that they can put together that comprehensive proposal. Typically is very professionally done. Once that is available, then staff will be happy to bring that back before the city council to take a look at.
I see. Yeah, I think that is a good idea. I agree with my colleagues that we should really go, move to look for the quote, the pricing, so at least that we know if this is a cost that we are able to afford, and to look for the next 20 years, development and plans, and think no vote is required. We just need a direction today. So I think we have direction for this. Then we'll just move to initiate to comprehensive updates and also the focus update. Okay.
Right. And I think
Yes.
in the
Member Chen.
Oh, sorry. Included in that comprehensive update, I mean, of course, we don't want to duplicate work. So, of course, if we already have certain areas that we already are comfortable with, then that's just less work they have to do and less cost. So yeah, no, that's it seems like a great project. And it has been 20 years, so it's time.
Okay, thank you very much. And thank you, Samantha, for the presentation. Next item, please.
Valley Boulevard Specific Plan Amendment Discussion. If you wish to comment on this item, please turn in your speaker card to the clerk now. Planning Manager Tawassart will make the presentation.
You're so busy. Samantha.
Welcome back.
again,
Yeah,
yes.
welcome back.
Yes, so the item before the City Council, again, is another discussion item. There is no action for the City Council on this item. Either it is to receive comments and direction from the City Council to move forward with any potential updates. And again, a really quick timeline, those considerations to update certain components of the specific plan originally started with discussions on May 4th of 2021, and this is just post-COVID, and the city was coming out of lockdown, and businesses were starting operations again. The City Council had discussions on these business updates and considerations to any updates on the specific plans and parking requirements. Following that meeting, the council did ask the Community Development Department to provide additional information really on the statistics and the data that was available as to where business were at the time, and this was in 2021. One of those items that were discussed was to potentially consider ground floor office use, specifically within the Valley Boulevard specific plan. What is shown here on the slide, the city does have approximately 17 zones. This does not include the residential zones. Currently, 6 of these zones permit ground floor office uses. So if you're in, for example, the C1 retail commercial or C3 general commercial zones, these zones already allow for ground floor office use. The limitation is currently within certain areas of the 2 specific plan areas, and that's Valley Boulevard and Mission District. There are 6 zones within the Valley Boulevard specific plan area. 4 are commercially zoned and 2 are residentially zoned. What's highlighted there in red is the one zone that allows for ground floor office use currently. So it's that section on North Valley Boulevard, just east of New Avenue, and then also that section of San Gabriel. Again, it is 3 of the 4 commercial zones that currently limit office use to the second floor and above. And what staff is seeking direction on tonight is whether to allow ground floor office use in the remaining 3 commercial zones. According to the update reports that were provided in 2021, property owners and managers at the time did communicate a strong interest in allowing for ground floor office use. And this was because retail and commercial markets were changing, again, post-pandemic. Ground floor office use is commonly found in office professional zones or medical office zones. In other zones, such as downtowns or central business zones, office use is typically limited to the second floor or above. And this limitation is typically due to just reserving more space for sales tax opportunities. A quick review of the zoning codes of surrounding cities did show that office use is allowed in many of the zones outside of the typical zones, again, that are not office related. And in the past 2 years, there have been inquiries from business applicants expressing interest and wanting to make applications for ground floor office use, in particular along the Valley Boulevard specific plan area. The second item this evening involves densities within the specific plan. As mentioned with the first public hearing item, this is one of the programs that's outlined in the housing element. Currently, the housing element in analyzing the densities that are not defined, the projects are averaging between 61 to 69 units per acre. And although the developments are at higher densities, for developers to have realistic assumptions to their projects, the recommendation within the housing element is to define a minimum, not necessarily a maximum. But it is important for developers to be aware that at least a certain number of units will be allowed for their projects. And this is, again, housing program number 12, and it aims to encourage mixed-use developments. And then also, again, in association with encouraging development on underutilized corridors, defining a minimum density would provide a little bit more certainties to projects. And then also defining the minimum density will provide a baseline for projects. And these were some of the policies that staff had just highlighted. And this is a reminder of the proposed densities. The densities are defined in 2 of the 6 zones, and the request would just be to define the minimum. It does not change the floor area ratio limit that is currently defined, but it does provide for a minimum density. And then, as mentioned, the recommendation before the City Council this evening is just to provide direction. If the council provides that feedback to staff, the next step would be to bring forth a zone text amendment to the Planning Commission for recommendation, and then to come back to the City Council for the actual text amendment within the specific plan.
Thank you, Samantha. Does any council member have questions for staff to clarify this report? Anyone? No? So Chief City Clerk, do we have any public comment?
We do, Mr. Mayor. Senlin Wang and Peter Ding.
Good evening. I'm the interpreter for Mr. Wang. 尊敬的市长、副市长、
市议员、市政府的工作人员以及今天来的嘉宾，大家好。
Dear Mayor, Vice Mayor, City Council members, government staffs, and distinguished guests that present today, good evening.
我叫王森林，是一名医生。目前在我的诊所在123 East Valley Boulevard, Studio 207, San Gabriel 4。
My name is Sinlin Wang, and I'm a doctor. My current clinic is located at 123 East Valley Boulevard, Suite 207, San Gabriel.
我从事医学工作多年，积累了很多的患者，他们是慕名而来，其中包括残疾人士、老年人和行动不便的人士。
I have been practicing for many years and have been accumulated a large number of patients who come to me by reputation, including disabled people, the elderly, and those who with mobility issues.
然而，由于市政府的规定，我们诊所只能在2楼从业。
However, due to the city government regulations, our clinic can only operate on the second floor,
给我们的患者造成了极大的不方便。
which causes a great inconvenience for our patients.
为了更好的服务以上病人，我们多次向市政府申请1楼开展医疗、美容、健康、养生诊所。
So in order to better serve these patients, we have repeatedly applied to the city government to open a medical, aesthetics, and health wellness clinic on the first floor.
可是，市政府的政策和城市法规阻碍了我们的申请。
However, the city government's policies and the city regulations have obstructed our application.
借此机会，我向在座的市议员、市政府经理、市长呼吁。
So by taking this opportunity, I would like to appeal to the council members, the mayor, and the city officials.
请你们重新审查你们的政策和法规，是否这些政策和法规符合和适应这个城市的发展和人民生活的需要。
To please review your policies and regulations to see if they are aligned with the needs of development of the city and the needs of the people.
我们从2022年到2024年，在过去的2年里，向市政府多次申请召开市议会讨论此事。
From 2022 to 2024, over the past 2 years, the city government has held multiple council meetings to discuss this matter.
然而，我们的诉求至今没有得到解决，使我们很失望。
Yet our demands have not been resolved, which has greatly disappointed us.
因为我们当时看到这个圣盖博城市啊，盖了很多大楼。
Because at that time we see there are many buildings was built in the city of San Gabriel.
城市很繁荣。
Very prosperous city.
当时看到了很多在1楼很多有空房子。
We see many empty houses on the first floor.
当时我很兴奋。
At that time I was very exciting.
我要为这个圣盖博市做出贡献，在这里头租一个office。
I would like to make progress for the city of San Gabriel. I would like to rent an office in the first floor.
当时我以为我就在这个123这个 plaza 里面找了1楼108房间。
So at that time, I found an office in the plaza at 123 East Valley Boulevard, which is Suite 108.
我和我另一个西医一个医生合作伙伴，也花了几十万装修了这个房子。
With another partner, which is another doctor, we decorated this office by spending a lot of money, which is over 100,000.
但是我们一直 到7天后申请，
So we apply for the permit to the city hall.
但是说有这个政策不批准1楼做办公室。
However, the people from the city hall told me that there's regulations that they don't allow me to open the office on the first floor.
而且我们这个是一个plaza里面，而且不是在路边。
And also, the office that I rented is inside the plaza. It's not on the street.
所以作为一个医疗机构，这个 medical 是一个非常合适的地方，
So it is a very good place for a medical clinic
也方便了病人。
and will take more convenience for our patients.
所以呢，我们也多次去到申请，也没有得到，至今也没有得到解决。
So we apply an appeal for multiple times and we haven't got this issue been solved.
我们蒙受了很多经济损失。
And we face many economic losses.
我今天来到这里，就衷心的希望各位议员、市长、副市长，和在座的政府的工作人员，给我们圣盖博的视频的这个要求得到解决。
So I come here sincerely hoping that the council members will seriously consider this request for us, the residents of St. Gabriel.
Thank you.
我
We're
愿意
done.
为这
No,
个圣盖博
time's up,
市
time's up. So, yes, thank you.
Okay, I would like just,
I'm sorry, do you have a speaker card?
oh, yes, I do. Yeah, this is a
I put both names on the speaker card, Sinlim 1 and Peter.
So that's okay if you have a speaker card, so that's another 3 minutes.
Thank you, Vice Mayor, all the council members. I just add just 1 or 2 issues on their saying that, I just let you know, they're talking the plaza. This plaza is like a U shape. And they're talking about the office is in the inside, in the middle of the U shape. So it's very far from the street. But by the city council, city regulation that you indicate that you cannot allow to establish the business on the street, but actually their business is not on the street, not along the Valley Boulevard. It's deeply inside. It's in the middle of like a U shape, very far from the street. The same example that I have a colleague who is the town state law offices. Their address is 208 East Valley Boulevard, suite number C, San Gabriel. They have the same situation. However, they're even more closer to the street. We're talking about our office is so deep from the street. It's so far from the street. So I would like to the city council, city mayors, vice mayors, to reconsider your regulations and then to approve our applications for the first floor, the ground floor, open their own business. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
So it's time for council discussion. Who would like to go first? Yes, Vice Mayor?
Go first, thank you. Samantha? Oh, there you are. Thank you. Just a few clarifications. So, Council, we talked about it on July 6, 2021, about this particular issue with the ground floor office, but it's not coming back till now. What were the reasons for the delay?
So there's a couple of reasons. First being, as the council saw this evening, when 2021 came around, the focus was to get the city a certified housing element. So a lot of staff's attention and time was spent to get that certification because
It was important.
Yes. Then following that, the direction from the city council at the time was to evaluate different options, whether staff should look at a percentage of the ground floor to be office use or to just look at different variables. But at the time, again, coming out of the pandemic, really the data wasn't there as far as where the trends were, and really the only information available was the sales tax information. And as mentioned in the presentation, that was the focus, to encourage sales tax on the main corridors. Now, though, as the City Council sees, the trend is there. Multiple cities have updated their codes in order to allow for office use, again, to adjust to just how the market is currently, the retail market, commercial uses, and those uses, they vary. Now there's more online options, and just commercial uses relying less on actual physical space. So because of these reasons, again, it varies amongst the cities, but there is a trend, and many cities have already accomplished their code updates to allow for ground floor office use. As far as where, how many zones, that is up to the City Council, but that's the reason for it, just really monitoring those trends. And again, now that the city is done with all the housing policies and programs, then that the attention can be directed towards other things, such as the general plan update.
Okay, thank you. So then, in the report, there's mention, let me see, let me get to that report. Under analysis, it says, according to the update reports presented in 2021, property owners and managers have communicated that there's a shift in the retail and commercial markets, and for the city to contemplate allowing ground floor use with the VBSP. So that was in 2021. What's the source of these reports? You do...
It was outreach from the economic development staff, being proactive about contacting the developers, property owners of the major developments. At the time, typically when it comes to construction of these newer projects and mixed-use development, the leasing and the planning starts very early on in order to define the square footage. That's all a part of the project design as far as the tenants that the developers are marketing to. And that was a part of the economic development division's objectives as well, to be proactive about reaching out, seeing what the needs were to get the projects going, to make sure that the spaces were leasable, to make sure whatever business interests business owners had in San Gabriel, that those needs, the city can provide that assistance to. So that was just really more proactive efforts from the economic development
Okay,
division.
so it's all homegrown kind of studies. And even though it's 2021, fast forward 3 years, you still stand by the fact that there is a shift, so therefore ground floor office space is something that there is a demand for in general. Because I guess I was just trying to understand, why was it disallowed to begin with? Was there, because the trend reports showed that, or when did this all happen, when the ground floor was
Right. So
disallowed?
as mentioned in the report, typically along the major commercial corridors, ground floor office space is reserved for tax generating type uses. So typically retail and service type uses that generate the taxes for the city. And this is the reason why, as mentioned, in the central business areas, in downtown areas, in old towns like Pasadena, typically in certain areas, this is where you would see that office uses is typically on the second floor. They're not the types of uses that generate the taxes. What's typically seen is retail, restaurant, services type business, and law firms, real estate office. Those are usually on the subsequent floors.
And when we made that decision, what was the year again?
2006 with the Valley
2006,
Boulevard
so yeah, it
specific plan.
significantly has changed a lot. Okay. One of the things I was just kind of curious, the speaker mentioned that they had invested quite a lot of money in that office space, and then to learn that it wasn't permitted. Does that happen often? Because I feel like we should have told them, I mean, it should be the reverse, don't invest until you get your plan approved. Is that something we can prevent from happening again, just to, serve our community, serve our business owners? They should know in advance what they can and cannot do.
Right, so the public comment spoke from personal experience for staff. This is typically conversations that occur before a business would typically come to City Hall. When they have interest in a space and they see that leasing sign on the storefront, they call the number, and sometimes they enter into the leasing agreements before really even checking what uses are allowed or what uses are not allowed.
So we really don't have much control over
Right,
that.
yes, yes, and sometimes it's not even what's allowed or what's not allowed, but what are the limitations. In this particular case, it is something that's allowed.
It's pretty
not prohibited.
significant, yeah.
It's just that it just cannot be on the ground floor.
Okay, okay. Well, you know, I think we kind of had a conversation about this. I guess, I know there's two parts, so I'll just focus on the ground floor. I just believe we should allow it. That was then, this is now. I think our developers, our business owners need as much latitude and to make those limitations that don't seem to apply anymore. I would be in favor of allowing ground floor office. Regarding the density, there was a page in here that wasn't included, I think, in the report. So I just wanted to understand the Valley Boulevard density. You put minimum of 40. Is that the recommendation from staff? Because it was pretty open-ended. It's like, you know, figure it out, council, you know, what's your density? But I wanted to make sure that was the recommendation you're providing to economic development after thorough analysis.
This is separate, so the 40 unit to the acre, that is a recommendation from the housing element. So this is one of the programs from the
Okay.
housing element to define the minimum density for the specific plan area.
But tonight you want us to give you direction establishing minimum densities. And there was no number that was provided, but when I saw this, it looks like you are providing a number.
Correct, the recommendation is the 40 units
Okay.
per acre.
Okay, well, if that's what the staff recommendation is, you've done the study, you've done the outreach, you know, I would be in agreement with that. I don't have any objections to that. So hopefully that's clear where I stand. Okay, thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Councilmember Chen.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, thank you. You know, we all have our own vision of the way we would like to see our city develop. And so, I mean, to me, I kind of like the way like places like Old Pasadena are, where it is retail and restaurants and bars and things on the front, on the ground level, but facing the street, you know, and that's kind of where the main traffic is. So I think I would, me personally, the way I would like to see our city be is that way where it is retail and restaurants on ground floor, but that facing the street is okay. Now, to the applicant's point, that he says his office would be like kind of on the interior side of a U-shaped building. I wouldn't see any problem with that. Now, is there a way that our city can make our rules that specific to say things like that we would allow only retail and restaurants on the front-facing side, but that other uses could be like on the interior? There'd be a way to do that?
Yes.
Okay. Well,
Yes,
then,
the council
I
can.
think that's the kind of my vision and what I would like to see, because I would have no problem with like the applicant's doctor's office, you know, on the inside. But I would like the more fun stuff, you know, in our downtown area on the front-facing sides of the street. So anyway, that's kind of the direction I'm going. So I'll yield for now. Thanks.
Thank you, Councilmember Chen. And Councilmember Dean?
Yeah, okay. So it's like we discussed 3 years ago, and it's glad today the staff bring this issue to discuss. So because maybe back to the 2006, the purpose, its intention will make more revenue for the sales tax. I understand it, and but because we right now have a lot of mixed user or like especially for their plaza have the inside not to face the street, so like the council member Chen has already mentioned, so if we can change it a little bit for our current the ordinary to maybe if they not face the street. But interesting, I want to make here say the mixed use, even mixed use, we can do the like first floor for the condominium. But the question is for the current, our the new develop, it's on the Valley Boulevard, have a couple the project. So this first floor they can do the office use, or even they face the street.
Right, the current regulation is they're prohibited from being on the ground
Still
floor.
prepared.
Except for the 2 areas that were shown.
Yeah, the area I think just on the very, it's not most not on the very Boulevard, just for the San Gabriel Boulevard, just one portion. It's a very small portion. Yeah, it's I think it's near to the New Avenue, right? Yeah, just one portion. It's so. Yeah, it's quite another question. I saw several like office use on the Berry Boulevard. They continue right now. It's because they have the business before the 2006. The grandfather law, they allow them to.
That could be it, but unless a specific address is provided, staff cannot verify. To our knowledge, it's retail, restaurant, commercial services type uses.
Yeah.
But if a specific address is provided, we can do the research behind that.
Yeah, I think it's a number. It's some AAA on the Valley Boulevard near to.
But that could be the case because prior to the establishment of the Valley Boulevard specific plan, Valley may have been a C3 zoning, which currently allows for ground floor office use.
Okay. And I think it's why I'm bringing that this scenario. If they have a grandfather law, but just in case they have the new tenant, they still want to continue use for the office. I saw some like a medical office too. It's already existing over there. So the new tenants have to follow the new current. I just talking about current the ordinary. So they no more office.
Right, so that would fall under the city's non-conforming regulations. So anything that has been permitted at a time and it's continued and not discontinued in use, it gets to be
Still
continued.
Still
However,
continue. Okay.
right, if at some point in time there's been vacancies, then it would have to comply with the current use. And even in the case of parking requirements, that would be the case as well.
City Attorney, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Just further respond to your question. The use could be continued as long as it is not intensified. It doesn't enlarge, doesn't require additional parking, for example. So if it's medical office to medical office, it's probably could be continued. But if it's medical office to something that would require greater intensity, it may be problematic.
So actually, like back to the like you mentioned, it's so they sign the lease agreement. It should be like maybe can come to our economic development department to find out which one address. If, for example, they rented the existing medical office, so they still can continue to do even face the street, right? So.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's why we will maybe encourage you like all it's landlord and tenant should be like when they rent space should be check our city first for based on our current ordinary, right?
The city does encourage that, and that's information that's provided on the city's business licensing division page very specifically, on the city's economic development page specifically. So it is some information that the city tries to get out. However, what happens outside of what the city's aware of, negotiations, terms within a lease, that's all business decisions and private transactions.
Is it another option? It's if for the maybe for the first floor, if we can, it's more broad. The ordinary, it's allow maybe some percentage for the office use. For example, 25% for the office use for the.
That is something for the city council to consider. Again, the trends and the data are not there, so it would be just based on whatever council's direction is.
So that's talking about the face the street. But another, is it like just like inside, for example, they are plaza and maybe future the focus plaza. So if we allow them also still have the need to put on some percentage on there, or just if they want no percentage, if they not face the street.
Depending on, again, council's direction, if the direction is to allow just street-facing units to remain retail and commercial in nature, whatever does not have street frontage, office is allowed, or the city council can provide a percentage. Again, that's all a part of deliberation. Oh, well, there isn't deliberating, just direction to staff this evening.
I know the way, then I find that, I just try to remember on the variable I have a lot of small plaza. It's, they are allowed a unit not to face the street. Yeah, so it's a, U style, so then we will see our rest of council member to the deliberation, we will see what's the best plan to help. Thank you, Mayor.
Well, thank you, Councilmember Dean, and I'm the only left as a council that has not made the comments, but thank you so much, Samantha. Another great presentation. Just a couple quick questions. So this is the zoning map that we have online. So this is in 2016, and according to the map you provided, attachment 8, so this is the map from 2006, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Yeah, it would be great that if we can have some like a color, so because this is so detailed. I mean, just one little like the Valley Boulevard, a special district, that is so complicated. But it will be easier for us if we can have the colors in different. And the second, on Valley Boulevard that we have like several, I will consider as an office. For example, we have a mega bank. We have like the Asian Pacific Bank and several architecture office. So I assume those are actually before 2006. So that's why they are allowed to be there. So if in the future any vacancy opportunity from those bank units, so per our attorney mentioned that another bank can move in within 60 days. They can still carry over the grandfather clause, so they can still doing business as a bank. Is it correct?
Yes, we try to stay away from the grandfather clause. Typically, they're legal non-conforming in that they were permitted at one point in time, and now they currently do not conform to the current regulations.
So can I say they are now is under the non-conforming use status, even the bank? So anyone that will be, for example, the bank will be a vacated property. So anyone will be step into this property and start their business. It would definitely has to be retail or restaurant under our current code. Is that correct?
That's correct.
I see.
I'm sorry.
Excuse me? Yes.
Depending on the period of time in between, whether the use was abandoned or not, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And then I remember in the past that we have like Clever Care that is on the first floor. That is also an office. Then it's in the Focus Plaza. Do you remember that? And can you explain one more time what is that situation? How we grant them for an office use under this circumstance?
Oh, that was one of those scenarios where they had signed their lease, moved into the space, and then came in with remodel plans. They did sign something with the city to say that they accept all liabilities that come with being in the space prior to completing the process. So that's how that one occurred.
So actually, they can actually sign some kind of agreement that they are accepting all the risk and no, it's not the case, right?
That was just something that they provided at the time because they had been in the space while they were going through the process. But again, because of the pandemic and everything that occurred, then I believe they're no longer in the space.
I see. So I think the ground for office use, what other cities, they actually strictly enforce no ground office use at all?
So historically, I can speak to the city of Monterey Park, since that's regulations that I'm familiar with. It's a private agency. It's the prior agency that I was with. Also, the city of Arcadia also recently updated their regulations as well. I believe the city of Rosemead just also recently updated their codes. And again, this isn't necessarily across the board. It's just each agency evaluating certain areas, zones within their cities. But so far, they have resulted in just completely allowing office use throughout all the zones.
So you mean updated those code or zoning? That is not from not allow the office used on first floor to allows them to use the first floor.
That's correct.
Got it. So I think this part, I would like to talk to my colleagues about this because I totally understand that Councilmember Chen, I think he brings up a good point, which is, of course, we don't want any busy street space. It turns dark after 5 or 6 p.m. It was just totally dark. So, I mean, if there will be like more offices that on the major street, there are more for offices, that could really killing the business area. But for many of the circumstances that a shopping center, it may decide all the different ways, but some deeper, some is like more close to the main street. If we are allowed them for a certain percentage, that is each, just like a restaurant. I think that a restaurant, we have a COP issue. We are not allowed them to having the entire shopping center, every single unit to be used as a restaurant because the parking. So, I mean, it will be a great combination from a past experience that, you know, with some offices, with some, the retails and restaurant, that combination, after dark, they will have, a restaurant have more space to park. They will have the guest coming without any parking issue because the bank is closed. So they can use that parking space after like 5 p.m. So that could be a alternative that the way, because to us, I mean, the parking is always an issue on Valley Boulevard. And that will be a good solution that if we allow a certain percentage that can be used, it not necessarily has to be. Because if we allow them to a certain percentage for first floor and using as an office, this will be up to the landlord to decide either they want to take this tenant or not. Landlord would like to take, I believe, they prefer to take the restaurant or retail more than just an office because they think that will be more cash flow and that is more opportunity for them to just collect the rent without any worries. But for office, that could be like it just died down so fast. So they rather to keep the office on second floor. If they would like to have that tenants on first floor, that will be their choice. So I would suggest my colleague, maybe we can discuss a percentage for the commercial use on Valley Boulevard, not just to open all, because we don't want to see that all the offices occupy the first floor and on Valley Boulevard, because that will just make the Valley Boulevard become no longer like a golden miles. So I think 25% is pretty fair. But would that be increased more job load for our staff? Which being said, our staff will need more, we will need more staff or more time on doing all this kind of analysis.
No. If the direction is to conduct additional analysis, staff would have to do that research. Currently, the information that is presented is for adjacent neighboring cities within the San Gabriel Valley region that is comparable to San Gabriel. However, staff will have to look outer to other cities to see whether or not a percentage is defined. But currently within the San Gabriel region, it's allowed or it's limited.
So if we will move to that direction, that having the first floor allow a certain percentage on the office used on the first floor, so the map will change, or the zoning we will change the name of the zoning?
No, the map will remain the same. The zoning classifications will remain the same. It would just be the uses defined in the use table would be updated.
Okay, so I would like to maybe just ask my colleagues if we will agree with like moving for Samantha and our economic development to get the report back and just make sure that we are moving that directions that will be definitely feasible for our development in the future.
Mr. Mayor, I would agree with that, but just to reiterate my position, I would not be in favor of defining a certain percentage. I still want 100% of street facing to be commercial, and that's my opinion. And I mean, we can do, like I said, with office use, I'm okay with that being on the inside. But for me, and the way I would like to see our city develop, I want all front-facing storefronts to be restaurant slash, a retail, that kind of business. That's my opinion.
Well, thank you. So Samantha, according to Councilmember Chen, if that will be, would it be easier for you to just, every first unit on facing the Valley Boulevard not permitted to use as a office, or we should have like a certain feet from the street that would not be allowing the office? Which way sounds more reasonable?
That would be up to the city council to discuss.
Okay, thank you. Well, we have.
It's your job.
Yes, very heavy responsibility on my shoulder. But actually, yes, I think that is a good way, but that means that is still a percentage issue, right? Because 25% you can just choose any units in the shopping center, or you can only choose the units like 50 feet from Valley Boulevard. That could be another alternative, as long as we can just have that clearly indicated.
Defined setback, I guess.
Define a setback, yeah. So I think I
Okay with that.
have Mesa to bring back the further report.
Yeah, I agree to face the street, because actually for future, we still can update it. After our city council still can discuss for the future, we really want to put on the office, it's on the face the street. But right now, I think at least their situation, so maybe on the Valley Boulevard that face the street, we still not allowed for the office. But if they are plaza inside, I also hope even inside will have some percentage, because I also like you mentioned for the safety purpose. So if with the inside everything is an office, it's so dark. It's also a safety issue too. So because if inside every unit it's an office, it's not good too. You have to think about it. Right, because especially inside it's most happen. It's got a car broken or whatever. So it's maybe we can put on some percentage. So even like their plaza, maybe save 25% or 50%. I don't know. It's a percentage. I know, but sometimes it's all hard to define, because every unit it's different size.
Mm-hmm. Well, and then that's why I was going to recommend that maybe staff bring options,
Yeah.
because we're kind of random 25%.
Yeah.
I mean, I understand facing the street is pretty makes sense, but then what if they decide to put the door not facing the street?
Yeah.
There's ways of getting around it, but maybe staff could evaluate those areas that have been designated. You know, what makes sense, because if it's a U, it's very different. And I can see there are advantages of having office space, because not only parking, but the people who are going to these offices are going to hopefully go to the restaurants and the
Yeah.
retail that's in the area.
Yeah.
So I think there are some advantages of having office space, but 100%, I agree with you. But I don't think we would get 100%, but okay.
Yeah.
Let's just say, you know, maybe there is certain areas that will have more office space than others, but I think it just needs a little closer review, very focused, and maybe they can bring us options before we make any decisions.
Like you say, if we're talking about the business, the entry is not just the business entry, it's face this very broad. Should be, if we don't allow the office, even they do not face the whole, it's their office, the size is a face to the very broad. Still, I think still remain same thing. It's just for the U style inside, so we can allow to have the office, you know. But I still want to don't want to see the inside everything, every office. It's office. So that's my concern for the safety purpose.
Mark, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. Maybe I can make a suggestion to move this forward. No matter what we do, it still has to go back to the Planning Commission. And the Planning Commission will make a recommendation, and then it will come back to the council. And it sounds like all of you are in agreement that there could be some allowance for office. There's some differences on whether that's on the street or not, whether there's a percentage or not. So perhaps staff can do that research that the mayor was suggesting. We can bring that to the Planning Commission and have the Planning Commission look at those options, make their recommendation of what they feel is best to the City Council in the form of an ordinance. And then if the council wants to tweak that ordinance when it's in front of you, then you can make those changes and at that time come up with what you're happiest with. But if we come back with analysis and then go to the Planning Commission, those folks that it seems like you want to help are going to have to wait for several more months before it even comes back to you.
Yeah, probably it's how many months? Several months. It's probably 6 months.
So if we start today with that research, go to the Planning Commission, back to the council, it's at least 3 months before that it takes in effect. And as you all remember, not only does it take effect in 3 months, but or do we bring it to you in 3 months, it needs 2 readings and 30 days.
Yeah.
If we bring it back to you with more analysis, that's probably a month or a month and a half of analysis, then to the Planning Commission, then to the council, and then 30 days after that. So it sounds like you all are in agreement with having office. Let us provide that information to the Planning Commission, let them make a recommendation to you, and then we can finalize this.
What about the density? That's another issue. You take it to the Planning Commission too, or is that something we can maybe?
That would have to go to the Planning Commission as well, because they have to recommend that change to you. And unless somebody has a problem with the recommended 40, or at least doesn't want the Planning Commission to start there, we can do that same approach.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
You're fine with that? So I think we have a direction. So Samantha, yes, please. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so next item, please.
Mr. Mayor, I have no cards for the second public comment period.
Okay. And city manager report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. I do want to remind everybody that unfortunately, the farmers market will not be happening this Saturday. I can tell you that staff takes this very personally, and it's not easily that we put it on pause. We will be working feverishly over the next several weeks to bring back what we hope to be San Gabriel Farmers Market version 2.0. We will work with the council throughout that process for signage, potentially moving it to the street to make it more visible, looking at vendors, perhaps getting creative and doing things like flea markets and that kind of thing. And then we will announce to the council and the public and try to get that same sort of excitement that we had when we first opened the market and continue that throughout. So stay tuned. It's going to be a couple of months before you see it again, but we will work our behinds off to make it happen.
Just a quick question on that. So are we going to also go out to the community or businesses to see if they want to participate? Because obviously we had a contract with this group, so we were kind of limited, but there seems to be businesses out there or small businesses from homes that would be interested in kind of a flea market, but these people would be more on a regular basis. Because I think the flea market we're looking at once a month, maybe. I think that was the model you described.
That's right. One of the suggestions would be people may not go to a flea market every week, but you could have the farmer's market every week and then add the flea market component on a monthly basis, and that would keep people coming at least once a month, if not more often. We absolutely could reach out to businesses. One of the things that we struggled with was the charge from the operator to the businesses, and that's not a judgment about the operator. He had to make money, and so that was the model that we were using. But if the city works with a different operator and either pays the operator or we take part of it in-house and we potentially remove business license requirements for those vendors, we can make it a very low barrier for entry into the farmer's market and hopefully attract more tenants. If it got so crazy busy later on that we could afford to charge people, we could always revisit that. But I think the council and the community can care a little bit less about the revenue we make from that and more about the benefit we provide to the public.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. Now the council comments and conference meeting report, please. Anyone?
Okay, I guess I'll start. I'll try to make this quick. On June 22nd, I had the pleasure and honor to attend Councilman Ding's Thanks USA event hosted by Councilman Ding's and his organization, Hope Lions Club. It was a fun event, so thank you. And on the 26th, many of you know that before being on city council, I have served on our local water district board for 9 years, and I still have friends in the water industry. And I got invited to attend a water forum at the Metropolitan Water District headquarters in downtown LA. It was very informative. It's a good event. Also, on the 29th in the morning, I attended the San Gabriel Block Captain's Breakfast meeting at the Mission Playhouse. Met some good people from various neighborhoods in the city and had great discussions with the San Gabriel Police Department heading the kind of moderating the discussions, and mostly regarding how to get more involved in our own neighborhoods and enhance our public safety. And later that evening, also on the 29th, I got to attend Downtown Arcadia's July 4th parade / carnival and fireworks event. It was a fun event. They did a great job. Also, the last thing I have, just a quick reminder for everybody that please come out to our event tomorrow, July 3rd, 2024, for San Gabriel's Independence Day celebration. We will not have fireworks, but we will have a cool drone show. So the event is 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. When it gets dark, the drone show will start, and the event will be held at Gabrielino High School. It will be in the baseball field. Please go online to RSVP as a courtesy to our city staff so they can plan the logistics of parking, traffic flow, et cetera. But even if you don't RSVP, you're still welcome to come, but we just prefer that you do just to help out our staff and make things go smoothly. So I look forward to seeing you there. Thank you. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor. I yield.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilmember Chen. And Vice Mayor?
You want me to go? Okay. Let's see. I too want to thank Councilmember Ding for Thanks USA. It was well attended. The only thing is it was very, very warm, very hot. So I do get concerned for any of our events, including tomorrow's celebration with the heat. So, we just have to be conscientious for everyone's health. So the playhouse, the parking lot is a great location. It's just, it gets so warm. So anyway, but it was well attended, a lot of great booths. So thank you, Councilmember Ding. Regarding the 4th of July celebration tomorrow, I think I can make the announcement, right, Rebecca? It's so important that you pre-register. We have already 5,000 people who've registered, pre-registered, so you can imagine we're going to have a lot more. Yeah, and in the heat too, but I just want to say that I really thank, I think the mayor who brought up the point that we needed to do something different. So for anyone who had any doubts that, we shouldn't have moved to the parade, from the parade to something like this, to have that level of response and attendance, it just confirms that our community was ready for something new. So thank you for pushing us, and we have some great sponsors, so the cost will be substantially less. I was happy to be part of the committee to put this together along with the mayor. So really, we welcome everyone to be there, but please pre-register. I think we'll have hopefully some space for those last-minute walk-ins. But it seems like it's going to be a great party, and typically, anytime you have a first-time event, you just never know what's going to happen. You just don't know if people are going to show up, or we'll just be just the 5 council members there, just kind of looking at each other. There'll be more than that. It's 1,000 people for every council member. So
I'll be busy.
So that's what we're looking at. So please, be safe and come out. Have your water, have your hats, stay cool. But as Councilmember Chan said, it is going to be, we had a chance to look at the sneak peek of what's going to be on part of the drone show, and it is going to be spectacular. So anyway, very excited, and we'll see you all there tomorrow.
Thank you, Vice Mayor and Councilmember Dean.
Yeah, okay. Allowed to event after last meeting. So first of all, it's on the 19th to 21st, we go to the Vegas for the first time. It's a nationwide AAPI Leader Summit. It's a really good start, and they were also talking about it's same event. It's the one day ahead. It's for the Latino, the leader, the summit too. So they say a couple of years ago, they just couple hundred the officer, but right now it's like 1,000 the leadership in the Latino community. But for the first one, I think they almost 300 the leader. It's for the AAPI. So hopefully for the future, especially where the population. So we increase. It's a really good event and the mingle together, and because. And 21st, because we have the Shanghai, it's for the bureau. It's for the elder benefit or disabled benefit. The bureau, the general director coming, and the same days our San Gabriel Homeland Club with the U.S. Chinese Women Association to get together. For our city's the senior meal, we provide the slip-resistant shoes for everybody, and some fruit too. So it's I really thanks the community service allow us, and thanks our Lions Club and the Women Association the kind of donation for our senior meal. And I think club is me, our mayor, vice mayor, is a member too. And yes, 22nd, it's Thanks USA. First of all, thanks all the colleagues to help us to have got like a rent discount. Okay, but we also have a kind of donation $800 to our city PD and fire department. Okay. And then on the 26th, I attend the sanitation district meeting. It's a long meeting regarding that's first time. It's regarding the next the budget too. So yeah, we will also we are part of that. So and. Okay, on the 27th, noon time, I have chance to attend our annual employee barbecue. That's fun. Okay, it's fun. It's enjoy. Okay, and in the evening time, I have the opportunity to go to the AYC, the annual banquet. Okay, so, our city, the nonprofit organization. It's also a pretty good event too, and the 29, I have chance to. 29, I have a lot of event, but I just want to one event. It's called a U.S. Immigration Work Unit. They found it. They want this organization, nonprofit organization, with the attorney to help immigration work and how to protect their right. But they also mentioned they not just protect the employee, they also try education the new immigration, the employer, so how to handle the employee and the employer, the relationship. And also have it's glad have chance to attend our Assembly microphone for the called Young Leader Program culmination. It's impressive for me. It's almost like 20 high school student from the neighborhood, all the city like Hambra, Acadia, and include our Gabriel. Their kids, it's really giving the impressive. They have everybody just only 3 minutes speak out our current policy issue, city issue. They are future. They are one that looking for. It's impressive for me, and we should have a good future for the community leader. And same thing. It's for tomorrow, where it's really important. It's for first time our city have the independence celebration. It's different to our neighborhood city. It's John Show. I waiting for it. It's also hear about 5,000 people to coming. So Rebecca, still the registration still open online? Okay, so let me use the Chinese too. So 明天是我们城市 San Gabriel 是第一次是用7月3号来庆祝美国国庆的活动我们其他的城市基本上用烟火，我们是用那个无人机的灯光秀给大家看，是下午5点到晚上9点半有吃有喝都可以来玩，大家同乐庆祝美国国庆，那这很有意义的。那么本身在 City 的网站上面，你现在孩子 open 给你，最好是你先去登记，这样你入场的时候有个电子的那个票，让你就是比较快的进入现场。否则的话呢，你当场去呢，他也会给你，但是呢要等。所以呢，建议大家继续，就是说。今天晚上，明天早晨。Rebecca, this is registration until what time? It will be closing. It's tomorrow noon time or?
We are capping the pre-registration at 6,000 people, so it will be
We still have
open
the
until
1,000
then.
people can register, right?
So people can still register until
Okay.
6,000 people. People will be allowed to come in on site, but people
Okay.
that have pre-registered will be guaranteed a spot.
Okay, so actually, that's meaning if the system is on the 6,000, will be stopped, right?
Yes.
Okay, good. So yeah, encourage the pre-register, and so 大家一定要去赶快登记。我们有6000个名额，现在是5000个，所以还有1000个，大家去。如果到了6000个就报名完了。希望大家来共襄盛举。Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Councilmember Ding, and I think it's always so good to, do my report after him because he covers most of my event I attended, so I don't want to repeat that. But I still want to emphasize, thank you so much, Vice Mayor, for your kind words, actually making our very first Independence Day celebration. That is a quite honor, but it won't be one person is able to make it. That is because all the council support our events that we are able to have. We actually, the city of St. Gabriel, deserve our own Independence Day celebration. And this is a great way that we can honor our veterans and great way to make our residents feel proud to be a resident in this great city. And especially I would like to say thanks to our city manager and, the community, service. Especially you can see the footstep from Rebecca. She's exhausted. It must be so tired, but her tireless work is really making the event so amazing. And especially I would like to say thanks to our fire department and the police and our Chief Wallace and Chief Alazade. And tomorrow I would like to make a little announcement that our PD will be demonstrate and will be showing their the military used vehicle very first time. And that will be a monster level. I would say it will be impressive. So please come. And that is not only to celebrate the birthday of our country, but also this is a great day that we can have fun together. And thank you very much for everything that we look forward to see you all. And the last part is closed session. We have none. So meeting adjourned at 9:30 p.m. Thank you.